Thank you and good morning. I say this all the time, so those of you that know me, you've heard it before, and those of you who are new, you're going to hear it now. It continues to be an honor, a true honor, and a privilege to serve as your first Vice President and your National Safety Coordinator. You know, it's been a very intense and full few months since my last report to this body. So I want to jump right in and update you on the fantastic work that is being done by the Air Safety Organization in the areas of safety, security, and pilot assistance, and I'll soon be including Jumpseat independently, as well as the continued growth enjoyed by ALPA-PAC. Now, when preparing for this speech, I took a moment to review the latest batch of statistics prepared by the NTSB and the Transportation Safety Board of Canada. And it came as no surprise to me that commercial air transportation, the profession that we all love, continues to dominate as the safest mode of transportation in North America. To add to Tim's comments about the record safety of our skies, as of this morning, the count is this: 3,170 days since the last fatality involving a U.S. airline passenger aircraft. That's something to be very proud of. And the thing is, folks, every day that number keeps climbing. And why? Well, it's because of the 58,000, thank you, just got updated on that, advocates who are members of the Airline Pilots Association in the United States and Canada. The men and women of this great union who are out flying the line every minute of every day, who know that when they wear the uniform, their primary job is to ensure the safety of their passengers and their cargo entrusted to their care. Now, the last few years really seen some monumental changes in government and in industry and in how we operate. Captain Knoll just detailed for you all of the attacks on the current U.S. First Officer Qualification regulations we've recently endured. And those challenges are not the only ones. As we try to maintain training and qualification requirements for both pilots on the flight deck, there are some who think aircraft don't need pilots on board at all. We see this in the realm of UAS. So while Captain Knoll serves on the Drone Advisory Committee's main council, I get the pleasure of representing ALPA on the DAC, or the Drone Advisory Committee subcommittee, where we get our hands dirty figuring out how we can and will safely balance federal regulations with state and local concerns, airspace accessibility, and of course, the big one, funding. Who's going to pay for all this integration, right? Our ASO and engineering and air safety staff are also participating in UAS rulemaking committees pretty much year-round. Seems like there's a new UAS rulemaking committee that pops up every few months. They're working to ensure the safe integration of both small and large UAS. So what can I say? It has been an exciting time. I look forward to sharing more with you in future updates. Now, ALPA and the ASO continues our efforts to ensure one level of safety for all pilots, whether they fly passengers and their baggage or they conduct all cargo operations exclusively. In August, in this very room, we, with the FAA and our industry partners, hosted a one-day air cargo safety symposium that brought together government, labor, and industry leaders to openly discuss the big issues on how we can further safeguard air cargo transportation. The October issue of the Airline Pilots magazine has a really great article in it. If you haven't seen it, please read it. So I won't go into further detail except to say we will continue to focus on improving the safety and security of cargo because it's an issue that affects all pilots. In fact, our role as the leaders on this issue is so widely recognized that while the FAA is standing up a new cargo working group as part of a joint implementation data analysis team, JIMDAT, they asked that ALPA's President's Committee for Cargo Chairman, FedEx Captain Rich Huey, to serve as the industry's co-chair. I mean, really, truthfully, what more evidence do you need to show that the pilots at ALPA continually lead the way? Now, switching gears here a little bit, I'm pleased to report that the 63rd Air Safety Forum provided our annual platform for the association to showcase our progress and successes to government and aviation industry stakeholders. More than 400 people attended this year's 4-day event. That's one of the largest crowds in years, and many more viewed it streaming online. The event drew good media turnout. We were pleased to host government and industry leaders from the United States, Canada, Europe, and Asia, all with the mission to promote, defend, and advance the secure air travel for everyone. I look forward to being a part of next year's forum, and that will be at the end of July in 2018. And while the forum saw many distinguished keynote speakers, like 2 members of U.S. Congress and key leaders from the TSA, the NTSB, Transport Canada, and ICAO, it was the closing keynote speech by Federal FAA Administrator Michael Huerta that highlighted a key point in our quest for safety improvements. A major player has been the acquisition and utilization of safety data. I know, Sam, you and I talked a little bit about the importance of that just a little while ago. Safety management programs like ASAP and FOQA have helped the industry from basically a reactive stance, or what I like to forensic approach, where we wait for something to happen and then we say, what happened? And pivot us towards a more proactive and soon-to-be predictive focus. Now, with that in mind, the ASO continues to foster and fight for these voluntary, non-punitive safety programs, as a recent one-day conference that we hosted here in the Herndon building highlighted. Now, our ASO representatives and engineering air safety staff have also been participating on several accident investigations, including the 2015 Wasaya Flight 127 accident, which the Transportation Safety Board of Canada released its final report on earlier this month. Our team is also drafting our analysis of last year's landing gear collapse of FedEx Express Flight 910 and has assisted the Air Canada Pilots Association on the investigation of this summer's high-profile event involving Air Canada Flight 759 into San Francisco, which garnered ALPA praise and thanks from ACPA. Now, shifting towards security for a moment. The Federal Flight Deck Officer Program is growing faster than ever. Under new leadership within the Office of Law Enforcement, Federal Air Marshal Service, improvements to the program are attracting more and more pilots, and it enjoys strong support from Capitol Hill, which continues to provide full funding thanks to our government affairs team. Now, here's the good news. The TSA increasingly views our volunteer pilots serving in the program as an integral and necessary layer of security. And I'm pleased to report that efforts are underway to increase the number of foreign destinations that will allow FFDO operations. But perhaps the program that we are best loved for by our members, and I know you know what this is, you probably utilize it coming here, and that is known crew member. Currently, there are 75 airports with KCM checkpoints, and the program has conducted 75 million screenings as of early October. Just imagine the time and the hassle that KCM has saved in applying common sense, risk-based screening for flight crews. Now, where there is development on an electronic randomization system, I don't know if anybody's had the joy of having a secondary screening, but we've addressed that issue, and there's a promise of the development of an electronic randomization system for additional security that's in the works, and I'm delighted to see that the programs continue to grow with more site surveys being done, so expect more airports to come online soon. Now, naturally, a major goal for me is to get our Canadian brothers and sisters the benefits of KCM as well. And I intend to discuss the subject with the new Transportation Security Administration administrator very soon. Again, changing gears here, the cockpit jump seat continues to be a topic of conversation. And our agenda today, on your agenda, is a proposed resolution to elevate that topic to the status that it deserves as a fourth discipline within the Air Safety Organization. And I'm happy to see that the importance of protecting the captain's oversight of the jump seat to be considered level and worthy of such a proposal. And I thank the Executive Board for its wisdom in considering and discussing this resolution and giving it the attention that it certainly deserves. It's also been a busy time for the ASO's Pilot Assistance Group. Our aeromedical representatives, along with ALPA's Aeromedical and Engineering and Air Safety, recently developed and posted new guidance on ALPA's website regarding fume events. And ALPA's Engineering and Air Safety staff is collecting data on these occurrences using IATA's standardized form, but one of our primary goals is to collect better data, more detailed information about smoke and fume events within each airline's individual safety reporting programs. Whether through ASAP or for our Canadian brothers and sisters through their SMS programs, we're providing information to your Central Air Safety chairs and aeromedical chairs about this need, and we'd be happy to work with anyone who has a question about how to implement. So, HIMSS. Just last month, HIMSS committee held a seminar that boasted over 400 professionals working together to help affect pilots and get them back to work to the love that we all have, the love of flying. This is just one example of which there are too many to count on ways your union helps its members. The Biennial Pilot Assistance Forum was held in May, and the gathering hosted members from all 5 of PA's focus areas. Every group shared its successes, educated others on activities, and overall provided an amazing opportunity for our volunteers to learn from each other about what we do for our members when they're having a rough time in their professional or their private lives. But knowing that, the associate and the ASO are continuing work to develop a training curriculum for a proposed pilot peer support program. You all know I served after the Germanwings accident, was appointed to serve on the pilot fitness arc. And while we have tremendously and we're recognized, ALPA was continually recognized for the robust PA programs, this new initiative will definitely close the loop because this is the first time we've addressed non-work-related stresses. So there'll be a safe pathway for pilots to come forward and get the help that they might need. So I look forward to sharing more of the program successes as we roll it out here soon. Now, the recent gatherings of our pilot volunteers have resulted in many discussions on how we can do things better. With that, there are some upcoming proposed changes to the policy that governs the Air Safety Organization, Section 85. I don't know if you've ever had an opportunity to look at that, but both the Aircraft Design and Operations and Air Traffic Services groups are working on these changes, some of which are small cleanups and others which are much more substantial, including a proposed policy on electronic flight bags, just to name one. At this moment, the team is working to bring them to the Executive Council and to this body, so I'd expect to see those changes brought forward for your consideration at the spring meeting. And finally, in my role as ALPA's Political Action Committee Treasurer, I want to shift the focus inside the Beltway for a moment and talk about ALPA-PAC. ALPA-PAC continues to stand strong and support those leaders who protect our professional pilots. And even though Washington is drastically different this year, the relationship we've built through ALPA-PAC allows us access to places and conversations with people, key people, that we normally wouldn't have. Now, 2017, we set a goal of $2.25 million. At the end of September, 22% of ALPA pilots had made a contribution to the PAC, and we raised $1.6 million. Please, encourage your pilots to start contributing the PAC because it does pay off. And during the 2016 election cycle, ALPA-PAC contributed more than $3.5 million to pilot partisan champions. That was split 48% Republican, 52% Democrat. So let me repeat that for a moment. Our ALPA-PAC, contrary to belief, and whenever you hear this, I hope you step and clarify this, ALPA-PAC gives to Republicans and Democrats. We are not a one-party PAC. We are a pilot partisan, and we're a bipartisan PAC. In fact, we were the most bipartisan labor PAC in the country this last cycle, and our outreach to all sides of the political spectrum gives us a leg up on those who may oppose us. In closing, we've made immense progress in improving what is already the safest and most secure transportation in the history of the world. But the work of the ASO will always continue, and the work that we do will never stop. So as we nurture the next generation of airline pilots, remember that we're also shaping our next union leaders and future safety representatives. And we'll hear more about that from Captain Capt in just a little bit. So that concludes my report for today. Thank you for your attention, and please fly safely. Thank you.